Hello and welcome to my studio journal. Now back in 2022, I started to redesign my home studio, shifting from software to hardware for the first time. What began as a few videos for some curious students soon became an ongoing unfiltered record. Now I use that stand that I got for the Machina, or the machine, I don't know what you call it, but anyhow, look at all the space I have now back here. I got tons of space. So that solves that problem right there. And it's taking up the right amount of space for that particular shelf. There's so much space right there. And I have all these extra shelves down here because I ended up having to take them out of that spot over there. Okay, I'm making these videos in kind of a disorganized way, looking around, trying to find things, trying to cut corners where you can, but spending where it's important. You know, as a hobby, it's kind of a matter of, you want stuff to work the best that it can in a way that is the most functional, but at the same time, you do have to worry about that old pesky budget thing. I'm just coming back from the store now, one of the big box stores for electronics and that, and I was looking for powered USB hubs, which they had a few, but there were only 7 port hubs, which don't really serve my purpose. And I was looking for power distribution systems, like the power bars. You plug them into the wall and you plug all your equipment into that, like an extension cord type of thing. What I found interesting is that, as far as selection goes, you go on Amazon, not that I'm promoting everything for Amazon, but I mean, the thing is, you go on these places and you can find all of these, like a 13 port hub, USB 2 hub, was $30 on Amazon. The exact same hub sold at this store was $130, cutting down your expenses a lot by shopping outside of where you normally might go to pick these things up. Okay, I've certainly never seen my studio look like this. It's a complete mess, that's for sure. One of the big decisions in redoing my studio is I have these 2 old USB 2 hubs. I was just interested with the Akai Force being able to do multi-MIDI, whether I need to get a USB 3 hub, whether I can get away with using a couple of USB 2 hubs. Because the thing is, everything that's over on these shelves that I got hooked up, most of that's USB 2 anyhow, so it's not utilizing the full USB 3. What I'm not sure about is whether all those ports combined, whether USB 2 is going to handle it back and forth. I think it will. A standard MIDI cable would. I could split those off and that wouldn't be a problem. What I'm going to try and attempt to do here is just see how the Force handles this. 16 tracks on the Modi X, 16 tracks on the Roland FA, mini log going with 1 track, the mini brute going with 1 track, the drum brute going with 1 track, and the DeepMind 12 with 1 track, and load up a couple of instances on the machine. Just see how the Akai Force handles syncing all of that at once. School year's ending, I'm done teaching, and I kind of got a little impatient, so I just started taking things apart. I probably should have went with my usual plan of thinking things through a little bit before just starting to disassemble anything. So it's going to be quite the task to put it all back together again. I don't have a plan. The reason is partially because I don't know what I want to do with this studio in a way. Any sort of recording I've done, I've always done using a linear sequencer. So program into a DAW in like the beginning, middle, end, just along the line. I don't use clips, never have used clips. I write orchestral music. You don't do a lot of clip-based orchestral tracks. So the thing is, it's getting used to something that's a little different. What I wanted to do is get everything controlled by the Akai Force that's back there. So this whole studio will be run and controlled by it. That's why it's on this little stand that I can move anywhere where I would like it. That's the idea. It isn't though I haven't done testing on this wall before. I did. I did have everything hooked up to the Akai Force With all these old USB cables that I got kicking around over here, I was able to run 16 channels off the MoDX, 16 channels of MIDI off the Roland FA, each the Mini Brute, the Drum Brute, the DeepMind 12, all single channels. I was able to run the Korg Minilog, and I was able to run native instruments at about 8 MIDI channels there. I used an excessive number of MIDI channels, and there wasn't any sign of the thing slowing down. It was just working fine. There was an issue though when I hooked up the Roland, for instance. As soon as I got the USB in, that all of a sudden I started having these ground loop issues that those boxes did fix. Now, I really don't know that much about a patch bay because everything I've done so far has been mostly in the computer, so I can see where it can come in handy. So for instance, I would have everything running into the patch bay and then out of the patch bay into the mixer. Plus, if I ever decided to use outboard gear like compressors and things like this, that might be a possibility too. So I was thinking maybe a patch bay. I might end up going down and getting another one of those power conditioners. And then that way I can have one for that side, one for this side. It powers all the synths because I don't have the stuff turned on all the time. The way I was trying it out and the way I tested, and it seemed to really work well. I just turned on one of these things. It's ready to go. Sample it into either the machine or the Akai Force, then would turn it off. I didn't have to save patches. And so that seemed to really work out well. And then plus when you export out, everything is right there. It's right in, contained in the Akai Force itself. All the instruments were involved in the machine plus, and that was synced basically up to the Akai Force. Then what I would do is export all the tracks on the machine plus and the Akai Force, and they all line up in your digital audio workstation, and then you can do some mixing and mastering. If you'd like to follow the full journey, check out my online studio journal linked in the description. Until next time, I'm just a music teacher having fun. Catch you on the next one.